Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of previous year question discussion. This is important for UPSC Prelims 2020. It will be a quick discussion on 5 questions which have been asked in the previous year UPSC Prelims examination. So let us start with our first question for the day. The first question is a question from 2010. So this question is asking a geographic region has the following distinct characteristics. A geographic region has the following distinct characteristics. Number one, it has a it has a warm and dry climate. Number two, it has mild and wet winter. It has the warm and dry climate. Number two, it has mild and wet winter. And number three, it has evergreen oak trees. And from these three given statements, you have to find out which region or which type of climate is being referred to. So the question states that the above features are the distinct characteristics of which one of the following regions? A. The Mediterranean region, B. Eastern China, C. Central Asia, and D. Atlantic coast of North America. So the above features are the distinct characteristics of which one of the following regions? A. Mediterranean, B. Eastern China, C. Central Asia, and D. Atlantic coast of North America. So from the given statements you can understand, number one, warm and dry climate, number two, mild and wet winter, and number three, evergreen oak trees. Try to understand that these are very distinct characteristics of a Mediterranean type of climate. So what will happen is, in case of Mediterranean type of climate, it is not only found along the countries which border the Mediterranean Sea, but it is also found in other areas wherever we have these characteristics. For example, the summer, it will be warm and it will be dry. There will be no rainfall during the summer. Rainfall will occur only during the winter. Okay? It will experience winter rainfall. That's a very important characteristic of this particular region, that is a Mediterranean type of climate. Also, we get to see in this Mediterranean type of climate, these regions, they are affected by the shift of wind belts. So these areas, they will sometimes come under the influence of the offshore trade winds, and especially in the winter they will come under the influence of the onshore westerlies, which will bring rainfall. And because of the warm and dry climate, we get to see that some very characteristic species of vegetation will be found over here. One such is the evergreen oak trees, and apart from that, olive is another very important, mainly citrus fruits, different type of citrus fruits, one out of which is olive. So that is another very important feature or important characteristic of these regions. So answer should be 1A, Mediterranean region. Next. So here in this particular diagram or in this particular picture, you can see all those areas which are having a Mediterranean type of climate, and they have been marked with red. So you can see the areas around the Mediterranean Sea, they will have Mediterranean type of climate. Apart from that, we'll also get to see very characteristic type of Mediterranean climate will be found in central Chile, also in South Africa, certain parts of California, as well as southwest Australia. All these areas will experience Mediterranean type of climate. So answer should be 1A. This was asked in 2010. Next question that we have is from 2011, and this question is asking what could be the main reason or the main reasons for the formation of African and Eurasian desert belts. So in Africa and Eurasia, we get to see a number of deserts are found. Now the question is asking what are the main reasons or the main reason. Number one, it is located in the subtropical high pressure cells. Subtropical high pressure cells. And number two, it is under the influence of the warm ocean currents. Which of the following statements given above is or are correct? So basically it is asking you the reasons behind the formation of African and Eurasian desert belt. So first statement is it is located in the subtropical high pressure belt. So please understand that whenever there is high pressure belt, what will happen is you will have subsiding air. Subsiding air means less amount of evaporation. Less amount of evaporation means what will happen? Okay, if there's less amount of evaporation, automatically you will have less amount of cloud formation. Less amount of cloud formation means okay, there will be less cloud cover. Hence, because of the cloudless kind of sky that we get to see in such regions, the intensity of incoming solar radiation that will be very high. So the intensity of the insolation that will be very high, and that will be one of the reasons. Apart from that, because there is no cloud, so very little amount of rainfall will also be there. Plus, you have subsiding air. So because the air is subsiding, so automatically what will happen? Its relative humidity will decline, and that will give rise to desiccating effect. That is a drying effect. So these are some of the reasons as to why we get to see deserts are formed. So the first statement is correct. The second statement, it is under the influence of warm ocean currents. That is incorrect, because warm ocean currents usually bring rainfall, whereas when it comes to cold ocean currents, we get to see that they too will have a desiccating effect and hence give rise to arid or desertic kind of conditions. So the first statement is correct. The second statement is incorrect. Answer should be 2A. But before that, you see here you get to see a number of deserts I have shown over here. So in all these areas, number one, for example, it's a Great Basin Desert. Number two, that is in South America, you have the Peruvian Desert, or number three, you have the Atacama Desert, which is also in South America in Chile area. And the Atacama Desert is considered to be the driest desert of the world. And then on fourth, we have the Patagonian Desert. So like this, you have a number of deserts which have been shown in this particular diagram. And here you can see that most of the deserts, they are not lying at the equator, rather they are lying on the tropics. So you see over here, the Tropic of Cancer is passing through so many of the deserts, and similarly we have the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere, is also passing through a number of deserts. So please understand the tropics. This is the area where we find the subtropical high pressure belt, and that is one of the reasons behind the desert formation. Similarly, we also get to see that wherever we will have cold currents, there we will get to see desert formation. For example, here you can see you have the cold California current, okay, the cold Californian current, and here you have the Mojave Desert. Similarly, you have the Peruvian current in the southern hemisphere, also called as the Humboldt current. This Peruvian current or Humboldt current is responsible for the creation of the Atacama Desert. Okay, this Peruvian current, it is responsible for the creation of the Atacama Desert. This Californian current is responsible for the creation of the Mojave Desert. Similarly, here you have the Patagonian Desert. Now, Patagonian Desert is formed due to two reasons. Number one, because it lies on the leeward side of the Andes. Number two, because you all actually have another cold current, which is called as a Falkland current, which flows along this particular coast. So that is why we get to see Patagonian Desert formation. Similarly, you will have another cold current called as the Benguela current, and the Benguela current gives rise to the formation of Namibian Desert, also Kalahari Desert, which is little to the interior, but Namibian Desert definitely because it lies along the coast where you have the Benguela current flowing. Similarly, you will also have the Canarese current, which is another cold current, and this Canarese current, it will be responsible for the creation of the Western Sahara Desert. Similarly, you also have the West Australia current. So what I mean to say over here, what I'm trying to make you understand is this: wherever you have cold currents, there is a possibility that will give rise to a dry and arid condition. So yes, first statement is correct, the second statement is not. Answer should be A, only one. Okay, so answer should be A, one only. So moving on to the third question, which is also from 2011, and this question says that if a tropical rainforest is removed, it does not regenerate quickly as compared to a tropical deciduous forest. So when the tropical rainforest is removed, it does not regenerate quickly as compared to a tropical deciduous forest. What is the reason behind it? 2011 question was asked. A. The soils of rainforest is deficient in nutrients. B. Propagules of the trees in the rainforest have poor viability. C. The rainforest species are slow growing. And D. Exotic species invade the fertile soil of the rainforest. Now, out of the given options, A is the right answer. The soil of a rainforest is deficient in nutrients because though it looks very rich and looks very fertile and you have very dense vegetation growing on it, but in reality, because of the excessive amount of rainfall and the everyday rainfall which takes place, what happens is the nutrients get washed away from the top layer of the soil, leading to the you can say degradation of the top layer. So there's a loss of fertility of the top layer of the soil because of leaching action. I hope all of you are aware about what is leaching. That is when you have rain, when you have water percolating from the top layer to the lower layers. And when the water percolates, what it will do? It will absorb the water soluble nutrients and bring them from the top layer to the lower layers. This particular process is called leaching. The loss of nutrients due to leaching is what is called as alluviation, which takes place in the upper layer of the soil, also the topsoil layers. So the first statement is actually correct. Okay, the soil of rainforest that is actually deficient in nutrients, though it looks very rich, it is actually deficient in nutrients. Answer should be A. Now you might ask me, sir, how is it possible that the soil is actually deficient in nutrients, but you have so much of biodiversity, so much of trees, so much of species diversity? The answer is this, because in the rainforest areas, in the equatorial rainforest areas, the temperature is very high, and along with that, you have very heavy rainfall. So high temperature, heavy rainfall creates a very conducive situation or atmosphere for trees to grow. And that is the reason why you have very high biodiversity, and not because of the soil as such. Now, what the trees do is that the trees, they will have extremely long roots by which they will be able to absorb moisture from the lower parts of the soil, okay, from the lower layers of the soil. Next question is salinization occurs when, and this question was asked in 2011. Salinization occurs when the irrigated water accumulated in the soil evaporates. When the irrigation water accumulated in the soil evaporates, leaving behind salts and minerals. What are the effects of salinization on the irrigated land? So basically, this question is saying salinization, also what is referred to as soil salinity, will occur when the irrigation water which has been accumulated in the soil, it evaporates, leaving behind salts and minerals. And what are the effects of salinization on the irrigated land? This was asked in 2011. Number one, it greatly increases the crop production. Okay, what are the effects of salinization on the irrigated land? Number one, it greatly increases the soil production. Number two, it makes some soils impermeable. Number three, it raises the water table. And number D, it fills the air spaces in the soil with water. Okay. So effects of salinization on the irrigated land. Effects of salinization on the irrigated land is what? It makes soil impermeable. It makes some soils impermeable. Why? Because once you have soil salinization which has taken place, basically how soil salinization happens, that is when you have when some farmer is practicing, let's say flood irrigation in a dry kind of an atmosphere, there you will get to see that the water will be sucked out, and when or water will be taken out by evaporation. And when the water is taken out, what happens, as the water comes from the lower layers to the top layer, it will carry along with it soluble salts, which will ultimately get deposited on top of the soil once all the water has got evaporated. And that will give rise to a hard salt crust, sometimes also called as hard pan. See over here, something like this. And if you have the formation of hard pan, or if you have a salt crust which has been formed on the surface, then it becomes almost impossible to cultivate these lands. Okay, this is called as soil salinity, so it has to be removed again. And the last question that we have is from again 2011. This question is asking, the jet aircraft fly very easily and smoothly in the lower stratosphere. What could be the most appropriate explanation? I hope you can understand the question very easily, that the jet aircraft, it flies very easily and smoothly in the lower stratosphere. What could be the appropriate explanation? This was asked in 2011. Number one, there are no clouds or water vapor in the lower stratosphere. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Number two, there are no vertical winds in the lower stratosphere. Is that correct? Definitely that is correct. So 1 and 2, both of these are actually correct, because we get to see most of the climatic phenomena, they are confined within the troposphere. In the stratosphere, there are no clouds, there are no water vapor in the lower stratosphere, and ultimately what happens, there is no vertical wind to create disturbance in the path or create turbulence in the path of the aeroplane. So what ultimately happens is that there are no clouds, that is correct. There are no vertical winds in the lower stratosphere, that is also correct. So 1 and 2, both of them are correct. And the correct answer should be C, both 1 and 2. So from this particular picture over here, you can understand that aircrafts, they fly in the lower part of the stratosphere. Okay, so with this we complete the 5 questions for today, and hope you have liked it. And we will come back again with 5 more previous year questions. So till then, study hard, stay safe, and thank you so much.
I'm an icon, man. And my girl about a 10. I should fuck her in the Benz.